Once upon a time, in the Hosen era, there was a crown prince named Juan. He lived in a grand palace filled with beautiful gardens, tall towers, and golden halls. Juan was kind and handsome, beloved by all who knew him. He had everything he could ever want, but his heart felt empty. Juan's father, the king, was old and wise. He wanted Juan to be the best ruler when he became king, so he arranged for Juan to marry Lady Sue, a noble woman from a powerful family. Lady Sue was beautiful and gentle, and she cared for Juan deeply. But Juan's heart already belonged to someone else. One day, while wandering in the palace garden, Juan met a young woman named Myra. She was not from a noble family. She was the daughter of a humble scholar. Myra had a bright smile, sparkling eyes, and a kind heart. She loved to sing and dance, bringing joy to everyone around her. Juan was mesmerized by her from the moment he saw her. Juan and Myra began meeting secretly in the garden. They talked about their dreams, shared their sorrows, and laughed together. Juan felt truly happy with Myra, and Myra felt the same way. But they knew their love was forbidden. Juan was the crown prince, and Myra was a commoner. Their love could never be accepted by the royal court or the king. As the days passed, Juan's heart grew heavier. He knew he had to choose between his duty and his love. The king announced the date for Juan's wedding to Lady Sue. The entire kingdom prepared for the grand celebration, but Juan felt no joy. Myra tried to be strong for Juan, but her heart was breaking. She knew their time together was running out. One evening, under the light of the full moon, Juan held Myra close and promised to always love her, no matter what happened. Tears streamed down their faces as they vowed to cherish their memories forever. The day of the wedding arrived. The palace was decorated with colorful flowers and lanterns. Guests from all over the kingdom came to celebrate. Juan stood beside Lady Sue, dressed in his finest robes, but his heart ached for Myra. During the ceremony, Juan's mind was filled with thoughts of her, her sweet voice, their secret meetings, and the way her eyes sparkled when she laughed. Lady Sue noticed Juan's sadness, but said nothing. She too was trapped in a marriage she had not chosen. After the wedding, Juan continued to meet Myra in secret. They knew it was dangerous, but their love was too strong to ignore. They found solace in each other's arms, knowing their time together was limited. One night, as they were meeting in the garden, they were discovered by one of the king's guards. The guard reported the incident to the king. The king was furious and felt betrayed by his son. He summoned Juan to the throne room and demanded an explanation. Juan stood before his father, head bowed in shame. He confessed his love for Myra and begged for the king's forgiveness. The king's face was stern, but there was a hint of sadness in his eyes. He loved his son and wanted him to be happy, but he also knew the kingdom's laws could not be broken. The king ordered Myra to be brought before him. She came trembling but determined. She bowed deeply and awaited her fate. The king looked at her and saw the love in her eyes for his son. He knew this love could never be, but he also understood the pain they both felt. After a long silence, the king made his decision. Myra must leave the palace and never return. She was to go far away and start a new life. Juan was devastated, but knew he had no choice. He held Myra one last time, whispering words of love and farewell. Myra left the palace with a shattered heart. She traveled to a distant village and tried to start anew, but she never forgot Juan. Every night, she looked at the moon and remembered their love. Juan, too, gazed at the same moon, feeling the emptiness in his heart. Years passed, and Juan became king. He ruled wisely and justly, but his heart never healed. He married Lady Sue, and they had children, but he could never forget Myra. Lady Sue understood and respected his feelings, though it made her sad. In her distant village, Myra never married. She lived a quiet life, teaching children to read and write. She often thought of Juan and wondered if he ever thought of her. She missed him dearly, but knew they could never be together. One day, many years later, Juan received a letter from Myra. She wrote to tell him she was dying and wished to see him one last time. Juan's heart ached as he read the letter. He wanted to see her, but knew it would be dangerous. Disguised as a commoner, Juan traveled to her village. When he arrived, he found Myra lying in bed, weak and frail. She smiled when she saw him, her eyes still sparkling with love. They spent their final moments together, holding hands and reminiscing about the past. Juan told her how much he loved her and how he had never forgotten her. Myra's eyes filled with tears as she listened. Her heart was filled with both joy and sorrow. That night, Myra passed away peacefully in Juan's arms. Juan buried her in the village under a big tree where they had spent many happy moments together. He returned to the palace, carrying the memory of their love in his heart. Juan continued to rule wisely, but he was never truly happy. He often visited Myra's grave, talking to her and sharing his thoughts. Lady Sue understood his need and supported him, knowing that his heart would always belong to Myra. Years later, when Juan's time came, he asked to be buried next to Myra. His wish was granted, and the two lovers were finally reunited in death. Years later, when Juan's time came, he asked to be buried next to Myra. His wish was granted, and the two lovers were finally reunited in death. Their love story became a legend told for generations, reminding everyone that true love never dies, even in the face of impossible odds. The people of the kingdom remembered their king, Juan, as a wise and just ruler, but they also remembered his great love for Myra. The tree under which they were buried became a symbol of everlasting love. Couples from all over the land came to visit, hoping to find a love as deep and true as Juan and Myra's. And so, the story of Juan and Myra lived on, a heart-wrenching romance that touched the hearts of all who heard it. Their love, though filled with sorrow and loss, became a beacon of hope, teaching everyone that true love transcends time and circumstance.